welcome into an abundance of thrones, looking at Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 5, first of his name. Garrett here, and with always Wade and Brad.
Long live the
Hello.
king.
Long may he reign.
Long may he reign.
Yes, indeed. In this episode, as we talked last week, it was directed by Michelle McLaren, who also, as we know, directed Season 4, Episode 4, Oathkeeper, Season 3, Episode 7, Bear and the Maiden Fair, and Season 3, Episode 8, The Second Sons. This episode marks the highest viewership in Game of Thrones history at 7.16 million viewers. This episode was also written by the Double Ds, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
So we finally broke the 7 million mark.
We broke and we didn't just flirt. I mean, we flirted with it last week, but it has succeeded. I wonder if we're going to get over. You think we'll get over 8 million viewers by this season? I think we'll pick
I
up.
don't know. It should be interesting. I mean, the season's half out.
It is half
over
out
already.
It's on a rise. I mean, the first episode was 6.6. It dropped by 0.3, and then it picked up, and now is 0.5 million over episode 1. So, that's definitely doable.
Spread the word that there will be more weddings.
Yes, indeed.
No, I think there have been enough weddings, and this time we get a coronation.
We do. Well, let's give a quick episode synopsis here and summary before we get into our views and whatnot, just to make sure everyone's up to speed and whatnot. So,
spoiler alert.
Yes, indeed. Spoiler and explicit alert. If we have to keep saying it, so be it. Pay the fuck attention. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to do it. I'm in a mood. All right.
And there we earned our explicit tag.
Yeah,
we did.
I think we were filling each other out for the past couple episodes of this. We're like, how far are each one of us willing to go?
Well, one of us has got a big fucking sword, okay? So, it's just the way it is.
Actually, both of us have big fucking swords.
There you go. God damn it. Okay, so I'm going to mostly read this pretty much straight from Wikipedia's site, but episode summary: Tommen is crowned as king. Meanwhile, Cersei meets with Margaery, Tywin, and Oberyn, where she discusses matters about her children. At the Vale, Peter takes Sansa to the Eyrie, where she is to pose as Peter's niece, which is a deviation from the book, by the way. While hospitable at first, Lysa quickly grows suspicious of Sansa, who she fears is attempting to seduce Peter. Peter is then presumed to marry Lysa that same day. In Meereen, Dany decides to postpone her invasion for Westeros in order to bring order to the Slaver's Bay and pronounce herself a queen. On the King's Road, the Hound catches Arya practicing her water dancing, and he angers her by saying how that fighting style, and by extension her teacher Cyril Farrell, are worthless, because he did not have a sword, and he was killed by a guy with armor and a big fucking sword. Brienne and Podrick are also on the road, where Brienne finds out her new squire is not very good at practical skills like cooking. However, she's impressed, or riding a horse. Very true. She is impressed with the fact that
he needs a better horse.
Like you said, he was taught to ride as a kid, but he hasn't really needed that skill serving with Lord Tyrion.
Yes.
Former temporary Hand of the King. Brienne is impressed with the fact that Podrick killed a Kingsguard in order to protect Tyrion. Beyond the wall, Jon's group attacks the mutineers at Craster's Keep. Locke attempts to kidnap Bran in the confusion, but is killed when Bran wargs into Hodor. Bran and his company then leave while Jon kills all the mutineers and burns down Craster's Keep. Okay. Fantastic.
Awesome.
That sums it up, right?
And that was the episode that was.
That was. So, we start this episode with Tommen being coronated, and we get a little flirty eyes with him and Margaery. I think it's, they've had one little moonlight meeting, and he's obviously smitten with her, and who isn't? She is quite the looker.
There's a comic of them. It's, do you have secrets? And it shows a bunch of 3 pictures of her modeling. There's just another one of him smiling. It's like, ah, yeah.
I'm not sure what they're really insinuating, but it sounds funny.
Well, she's not a unattractive woman. She is pretty good looking.
Yep. She's made a name for herself, too, as far as actor-wise. But, yeah, I think definitely the major focus of this episode was clearly Cersei. I mean, she meets with Marjorie at the coronation and confesses a little bit that she always knew that Joffrey was a monster and Joffrey would have been Marjorie's nightmare, but Tommen's actually a good kid and may actually be a good king, the first in many years of people who can claim that feat.
Yet she's actually more willing to have Marjorie marry him rather than Joffrey. I mean, she scorned Marjorie when in the upcoming marriage to Joffrey, and yet is saying, it's okay for what's his name? Tommen. So kind of a reverse. It's weird.
Yeah, Brad, what'd you think about all this lovey-dovey from Cersei this episode?
I think it's all a show.
Think so? Think she's totally playing the game?
I think it's totally playing the game. There's an undercurrent of deception there when Marjorie comments on that she's still mourning the death of Joffrey. Cersei kind of rolls her eyes.
Yeah, no, definitely. She definitely is like, yeah, please. You're not mourning anything. You're mourning that you're not the queen right now. That's what you're mourning.
There's definitely no love lost. I don't think they're, best pals now.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they were getting buddy-buddy, and then Marjorie decided to ruin that by saying, well, I don't know what to call you. My sister? My mother?
Yeah.
And Cersei's like, okay, Ice Queen.
Yeah, you saw that face just like...
she just shut down.
Oh.
Yeah. Probably not the best person to play buddy-buddy with right off the bat. But then we see her with...
No, but Marjorie knew that.
Yeah, which is all the more interesting.
It's part of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Marjorie plays the game pretty well, though, too. She definitely gives just enough in the situations to keep you interested in what's going to happen next. But we also see Cersei playing buddy-buddy with Oberyn, wanting him to give Marcella a gift, as Cersei wasn't there for her name day, and trying to feel out how she's doing and that she has no idea what happens in Dorne. And aside from nudging Oberyn into the belief that Tyrion did in fact kill Joffrey, the rest of this interaction seemed fairly innocent in nature.
She's trying to buy the jury.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, that is what it is. She tried to convince one of the judges. Now she's trying to convince the other judge.
Yeah.
She's going behind the scenes to try and sway the verdict before the case is even heard.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like through previous episodes that the judges were already kind of on that path as it was. Maybe she's just trying to seal the deal.
Could her meddling affect the way she doesn't want it to go?
You think by her pushing that Tyrion did it will be like, well, maybe he didn't?
Yeah. Like, why is she pushing so hard? Let's actually really look into this.
It's an interesting concept. I mean, I don't want to say one way or the other because I have some understanding. But it'll be entertaining to see how it all unfolds.
Hopefully it won't involve a wedding.
No, that's going to happen in
no
a
promises
fortnight.
there. No promises there.
Although, they say a fortnight in the show. Do they mean a fortnight for us viewers too? Are we going to see a wedding next week and then a wedding after that? Because Cersei tells Tywin that Tommen's wedding will be in a fortnight, and then her wedding to Loras is in the fortnight after that. Curious.
So that means this is going to be the season of weddings.
Season of weddings. Well, Marjorie did say that we'll be faced with quite a few weddings in our future. So.
Yep.
It is likely.
Well,
I was surprised by how much was spelled out as far as the poisonings go that I don't remember from the books. I don't think it was quite so in your face. It was hinted around. It was, and as we know from Martin's writing, maybe it's all lies. But
you think?
I don't remember Peter Baelish, confessing near as much to Sansa. And I don't remember,
Lysa,
confessing killing her own husband. I mean, I don't remember that from the book. It may have been there subtly, but this was in your face.
This was in your face, but it wasn't in your face. I mean, to someone like you and me who kind of knew it and we were waiting for the show to validate it, it was obvious. But I think to someone who is just casually watching the show, who isn't like hanging on every word that every character says, it could have gotten missed. But just to recap, Lysa does admit to Peter that she followed his every wish in obtaining the poison and then putting it in Robert, who is was her husband, and then writing the letter to Catelyn saying the Lannisters had killed Robert. I'm sorry, I'm saying Robert. I mean John. Poisoned John Arryn. For those who don't recall or remember, John Arryn was the body that we saw very early on in the show. I want to say episode 1. Which provokes King Robert to ride north to meet with Ned because John Arryn was the first hand of the king, and now that he's dead, King Robert needed a new hand, which he was looking for with Ned Stark. Further backstory is that Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark both wore, I'm not sure the name, but essentially foster kids under John Arryn. They kind of rotate their kids around, kind of like what happened to Marjorie, where they sent her off to live with a different family for a time. Both the Baratheon house and the Stark house sent their children for John Arryn's keeping and training and education.
So, I find it interesting, though, that while alluded to in the books, again, like we were saying, not quite so blatant, this entire mess that we've been dealing with for 4 seasons now, or 3.5 seasons, all these powerful houses and armies that are fighting against each other, it's this diminutive little guy, Peter Baelish behind it all. He's the one that's essentially set in motion all of the bad stuff that's happened.
I heard in another podcast someone said that no Littlefinger, no Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you look at all this stuff, bringing Ned Stark and the Stark family to the capital, Peter, because he got Jon Arryn poisoned and killed. And then he, through his service to the Lannisters, gets the rights to Harrenhal, which gives him now the title to be worthy to marry Lysa, who is Lady of the Eyrie. So now, technically, after this episode, Peter Baelish is both Lord of Harrenhal and Lord of the Eyrie. He is amassing some stellar titles and wealth and power behind him. What he does with it, we're yet to be seen.
About the only thing that hasn't been influenced by him that we know of is what's happening across the sea. That's
correct. Yeah, and I do want to touch base that we did learn that the death of Joffrey was orchestrated, or at least Peter was involved in regards to making the necklace and distributing it as needed. Littlefinger has got his fingers in just about everything.
Makes you wonder how far back it goes.
Well, and keep in mind, too, he was the Lord of Coin for King's Landing. Was he always going to the Lannisters that he insinuated to Stark, or was he going directly to the Iron Bank of Bravos? So, I mean, there's a thick web here that he's involved in a lot of it. So, interesting to see what happens. Wait, what were some of your thoughts, reactions, scenes you want to point out, bring up, discuss?
All I'm really happy about is that the wolves,
filthy little wolveses.
I haven't had any wine, I swear, are out. But
the wolves are free.
Yep.
John and Ghost reunite.
Yep, that was probably my most liked scene.
I think my most liked scene is when Ghost took the face off of the one former Night's Watch guy that ran from the battle, the sniveling little worm.
That, and then the meetup.
Yep. Little reunion.
But, I mean, who was the director for this one?
Michelle McLaren.
Yep, she seems to be more the low-key director. You know, not much
Not
action.
a lot of action, but a lot of story.
Exactly. She's the one who comes in and says, this is what's going on. I'm going to leave it to these guys to swing the swords.
Yep. Well, speaking of swords, we get... the Hound gets a little wake-up call, realizing that his name is on the death list of Arya's prayer. That was entertaining. We saw a little... He's thinking, yeah, girl, say your names and shut up. Let me go to sleep. And then he realized he's on the list, and we see him wake up the next morning, and he's a little perturbed. He's a little freaked out.
Yeah, I think that shook him up a little bit.
He just wants his coin.
I know, but I mean, if I were Arya and I really wanted him dead and I felt that now was the time, if I wake up before he does, I'll just slide needle right into his throat, but that's just me. There's no armor covering your throat. So, doesn't matter how big your fucking sword is.
No, I'm just thinking, how is she going to knock down the mountain?
She didn't say maybe she'll...
It's on her list.
He's on her list. Now, we were trying to figure out why the mountain was on her list. Is it because he was holding Harrenhal when when the torture was going on before Tywin showed up?
I don't remember.
I want to say that's the only reason why the mountain's on her list. We know Ilyn Payne for killing Ned. We know the Hound for killing the butcher's boy when Nymeria bit into Joffrey in season 1. Joffrey for being a vicious little tool. Cersei for being Cersei.
Cersei for just playing the game.
Yeah. So, now, did you guys think that she actually anticipated stabbing the Hound? Or was it just a show, that she just poking him in the armor to poke him in the armor?
I think she's playing along.
You think so?
Yep.
Because she kind of had a look of shock when the armor stopped the sword, and why would you do anything to be willingly smacked across the face?
I'm still willing to put a sword in your gut, even though this one wouldn't do anything.
Even this one's too small to be efficient.
I mean, have you remember what it looks like in his hand?
Yeah, toothpick.
I'd hate to see what it looks like in the mountain's
but it's
hands.
a reality check for him that she is perfectly capable and willing to stab him.
Well, and he's seen her, jump off a horse and, kill a few people on her own as it is. She did that to the Lannister men at the end of last season after the Red Wedding. Not Lannister, but the twins. Some of the Frey people. But, and his response was, don't do that. Just let me know first. Yeah. But I think that was kind of a wake-up call for him then, too, in that, I'm willing to kill when it needs to happen, and I think that kind of surprised him. Mm-hmm. Because early on, an episode prior, she just knocked the one guy out. She didn't want him to die, and he thought she was weak. I think he definitely realized that wasn't the case.
She's killing people left and right now. I mean, she got Needle back and kind of gave that guy the speech and put it into his throat.
Yep, nice and slow like.
So, weak. choke on your own blood.
Not so much. Yeah, we got Locke up at Craster's, Roose Bolton's man, who gets Hodored. That was awesome.
Now, what was the deal with him? Because I wasn't really well in following.
Okay, we said this last week, but
My
earlier
memory's terrible. So.
earlier on in the season, Roose Bolton, who was the one at the Red Wedding that showed Catelyn he had armor on, and he pretty much gave him up at the Freys and made an alliance with the Freys and the Lannisters. He then has the bastard who was torturing Theon Greyjoy, now Reek. They went back to the Dreadfort, and Theon/Reek told them that the boys, Bran and Rickon, are still alive. He only killed the farmhand boys. So Locke was sent by Roose Bolton to find Bran and Rickon. Because they were Starks, they knew that the North would rally behind the Starks, and he would not have any claim as Warden of the North as long as Stark still lived. So Locke went up to the Wall thinking the boys would go there, knowing Jon was at the Wall, and then found out that the boys were north of the Wall. Then he saw them at Craster's, advised Jon to stay away from that shack because there was hounds, quote-unquote, hounds in there, so we should stay away from there so the hounds don't smell us and give us away, when in fact he knew that Bran was there, and his plan was to abduct.
All right, then. So now you know why he's there, and now I know why.
Good synopsis. Well,
And now you know why he's dead.
And now he's dead, so he doesn't matter anymore.
He got Hodored.
is that a thing?
Yeah, it is now.
Apparently.
Trademark Abundance of Thrones.
That's right.
Hodored. But yeah, so we definitely see that Bran is having a lot more control and ability in his warging. Willing to kill when killing need be. Wants to go back and meet up with Jon, only for... what's his name? The kid.
Other seer?
The seer,
Jojen?
Green Seer. Jojen, thank you. Jojen Reed advised him that you can either go back with Jon or you can find the three-eyed raven. You need to make your choice. And they choose to head north.
And on we go.
And on we go. The wolves are freed. And we got a nice little vision.
All is wrong with the world.
All is right in the world. I liked how we got to see how Jojen's abilities are reflected. He sees them as if they're occurring, not in some like dreamlike state. So that was kind of cool. I'm curious what the fire in his hand represents.
He's on fire. Maybe.
So I wonder what's going to happen with that.
When will we find it? You'll know. I'll be on fire.
Yeah, that might hurt. But, so yeah, I mean, that's Abundance of Thrones this week. We should definitely, hopefully, I think we'll have the trial next week, I'm hoping. And
next week, probably. The show title is The Laws of Gods and Men.
Yeah, so that definitely would tell me that, oops, sorry, iPad noise.
The hint to a
Yeah.
certain trial.
So take a look at something here, if you guys have any further thoughts.
I thought it was interesting, and this was reflected in the books, how Dany reaches a point where she realizes she's not ready to rule Westeros.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people in the fan base felt we're starting to have a distaste for Dany because she was feeling a little too entitled. You know, Westeros is mine by birth. Yeah, I was born there and my father was king, so therefore I should rule, having no real knowledge of the lands. And yet she's over here in this other, essentially, continent, and seeing that a lot of her efforts have been for nothing as the cities she has conquered have been overtaken. And she comes to a realization that I need to learn how to rule before I can rule. So a lot of people felt respect for her again coming to that realization.
She was acting like her brother in the first season.
A little bit, this is my right, and I need to have it, and that's the end.
I am a dragon. I am immune to fire, which actually she's proven, kind of.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He wasn't, but she kind of is.
Yeah, totally.
But, it still was, kind of acting like her brother and needs a few practice rounds of ruling before she goes diving off the board.
And I know a lot of people...
But it wasn't enough just to free the cities and say, be good and leave.
Yeah, exactly. It takes more than that.
You need to actually leave some guys there.
Yep.
Yep.
I had a thought, too. Totally lost it. Had something to do with her.
All right.
Anyway, maybe it'll come to me between now and next week.
If not, we'll cover it next week.
That's it. That's been us for An Abundance of Thrones. Check back with us next week. Hey, do us a favor, if you're listening on YouTube, hit like and subscribe and keep posted for future updates.
Keep on playing the Game of Thrones.
Long may he reign.